Hey, what's up, guys? This is Yoga Beats. We're going to be walking through the process of making all the beats and all the samples and sounds from Castles Made of Sand from the new album Hendrix and Chill. So, yeah, let's get started. Alright, so first and foremost, we're just going to give sort of an overview of what we already have programmed and sampled into the SP404. These are some guitars that we recorded, myself and Will, from a local Chico band called Decades. I'll go ahead and drop in a quick clip of Will just like shredding on guitar right now. That's Will. Will came into the garage recently and was able to actually give us a chance to hear him play through his really cool Kemper, which is an amp profiler. So before we start actually adding patterns here, we want to just find a good tone out of our kick drum and our snare. We want to make a choice of which snare to use primarily, and then we want to start using the effects of the SP404 to resample them into a different bank, and then that's the bank that we'll use for the song. One of my favorite functions of the SP404 is the subsonic effect. So if we turn that on, we now have a subsonic effect here. If we turn it on, and then we actually have to put it all the way to 23. So here's the subsonic effect, and you're only going to hear it if you have really good headphones, because what I'm doing right now is bringing it all the way down and putting just some beef into the low end of this kick drum. Alright, now that we have the effect on the kick drum here, we're going to go ahead and resample it to the F section. So here's our kick drum. We just hit resample. We're going to hit record. We're going to actually, hit record. And then we're going to choose where we want to resample it. So we're setting it to the F1 button. So now it's on its way there, but we still have to hit record. So we hit record, we go back to A, and then we just play the one kick. Boom. Now it's in the F section. There's our F1, that's our kick drum basically. We moved it from here, A3, to here, F1. So we're going to be doing that a lot. That's kind of how it works, but I won't do it as slowly as that going forward. So sorry, you'll just have to keep up. Now let's go ahead and start choosing our snare here. This one's kind of cool. I want to start messing with this a little bit. I think I could probably EQ this. So I'm going to send it to 13. I feel like I could get like a nice, yeah, something like that. So if I just see, so we have a little, this is what I like to do. I'll loop what we have going on here, and then I'll come back and just see, this is like a mellow little groove that this can play to, so maybe a little more high end. Yeah, that's fun. So now that I know what I want, I'm going to go ahead and resample it. So now that we're here, we're going to hit the resample button. We're going to record it to 2. We're going to hit record, come back to A, bam, and there is our snare drum. No effects besides just EQ happening yet. We are going to add some reverb, but first I just want to see how this plays. So already there's some leveling issue happening here. So I'm going to hit this and hit the level button, bring it down. same thing with the snare drum. So that's a way too loud snare drum. Cool. This has too much of like a tack on it, so I'm going to go ahead and change the start time on it. So when you want to use this function, essentially it's taking the sample and it's starting it a little later or a little before. See how it's like basically the tail end of the sample when I pull it all the way to 30, but at 0, it's got the whole sample. So I'm going to just put it a little bit in the middle. See, this kind of mellows it out a little bit. So then now we have this. See, so we have something fun happening there. And let's get some compression on it real quick, see what happens. Woo! So we don't want it to be too loud. So we just put some compression on it. And what I want, and it gives it a little more of a smack, which is cool. That's kind of what I lost when I messed around with the start end time. So now that we have some compression on it, I'm going to go ahead and resample it. And now that I'm in the F bank, I can actually just resample to the adjacent pad. And then that way we're in good shape because we can just bring it right back over. So I'm going to go ahead and resample to you. Hit record. Boom. And then we've got the sample right there. We're going to delete the original one. We're going to copy function 1 and then 3. It's asking us where do we want, or what do we want to copy. We hit that, and then it says where do we want it to go. We say the 2, we hit record, and now it's on both, so we can get rid of the 1 on the third one. So now it's got compression. So what I want to do now, that's sort of my dry samples, my dry snare. I'm going to actually add an affected snare. So we're going to start messing with the reverb button. I'm going to see, woo! You can add a lot if you want, but I don't really want to go crazy here. I just want a little fun. So now we're going to, now that we have an affected snare here, we're going to resample it to the 3. So resample 3, and there it goes. It's got a little reverb on it, and here it is. So here's without the reverb, here's the with the reverb. So it's not a huge difference, but it's just kind of a fun option to have. Right? That's a fun, there's just like a fun way to have those sort of move around with each other. Cool, so we've got our kick, we've got our snare, we've got our reverb snare. Let's go ahead and drop in a hi-hat. So we'll move back to our A bank. That's our snares. Here's probably what we're working with. So what we're going to want to do here is... actually, I'm just going to resample, or actually I'm going to copy these over to our drum bank here. So we'll copy this to right there, and then we will copy the second hi-hat to right there. So now in our F bank, we put our hi-hats right here, but there's nothing happening to them, so I just want to kind of mess with them with the SP404. One of my favorite things to do is EQ using the SP404. There's something about this equalizer that's kind of cool. See, that's a fun little sound right there. Right? So we're going to go ahead and resample that real quick. All we've done is just put a little EQ on there. Resample, record. That's where we want it to go. This is what we want to put there. Now it's there. And now we have a sort of another hi-hat. So I'm going to go ahead and bring reverb onto the first hat. Just a little bit. So now it's got a little verb, and this will be nice to use for different patterns that we're going to use. It'll create subtleties in the song that are only noticeable to us, but when you actually track something, it's going to be a nice little addition to have just a reverbed out hi-hat. So let's go ahead and resample to there, and we'll go boom, and then now it's right there. I also want to throw just one more little reversed sample in here. One of the things that I like to do is reverse the cymbal hits. So this guy, right? That's fun. So now that we've got our beats, we've got actually just our drum sounds, we're going to go ahead and take a listen to them. So we've got kick, snare, reverb snare, a couple of hi-hats, a couple of affected hi-hats, and then this little guy. The way that we set up to do a pattern is we hit pattern select and we hit record. It's going to ask us where we want us to record that pattern. It's going to go on A1. There's our metronome. We can turn that up and down. We're going to leave it at about 30. And then we want to change the BPM to whatever we know the song is in. So I know that it's in 116. And then we can quantize this, and I usually quantize to eighth notes. That's kind of my jam. And then length. So we can make a huge giant one, or we can just do a 4-bar pattern. All right, let's give it a shot. Cool. Let's put a hat in there. Cool, so that's going to be our beat. Let's just see what it sounds like on top of our riff here.